Good evening, everyone. Welcome to another edition of Awaken the World Live. Right now, Non Judgment Day is here. Happy holiday. It is Monday, the 8th day of February in the year 2021, and you are here live with myself, the Toothed Tiger. So good to see you all. Before we begin, as always, let me express my love for each and every one of you. You are perfect exactly the way you are right now. Now, that doesn't mean that perfection doesn't evolve, right? Always be willing to see where your next highest version of yourself wants to go. So, what are we going to talk about tonight? Well, we're going to talk about a new holiday called Non Judgment Day. And this is a very important holiday, and it really centers around a little piece of text found in the Bible. And that text comes out of Matthew 7. And what it really says is that take care that if you judge someone else, you too will be judged, and by the same measure. Why are you so concerned with what's going on with someone else instead of dealing with what's going on with yourself? And this actually goes a heck of a lot deeper. Now, one of the interesting things about that particular section of Matthew is it's basically Christ just tossing out little bits of wisdom. And this is the first and foremost piece, the most important element that has to be addressed. And that's why he comes out with this. And this is actually also the largest piece on any one subject that he speaks upon in Matthew. Now, why is it so important to understand this? Well, the reason Christ wanted us to be crystal clear about judgment was not because there was some deity, some God father figure that was going to judge you too. You know, that was the old way of thinking, somehow relevant to the Old Testament and mainly driven by what the people were going through at the time and the feeling that they were being judged. But it had nothing to do with a judging creator. And Christ knew that. The whole point about judgment is that when we choose to judge another, we are really looking at a mirror unto ourselves, and our judgment is always based on us, not on what we perceive external to us. That is why Christ, in a state of love, could look upon the harlot and have nothing but love in his heart for her and not see a harlot, not see someone who is not worthy, but instead see a being worthy of love, another one of God's children. That had nothing to do with the person that was in front of Christ, that had to do with his state of being. And we are invited into that same state of being, sans religion, because Christ wasn't a Christian. Christ was Christ. Christianity did not exist for a long time after that. The whole point of that judgment is when we choose to judge someone else, we are indeed already in the process engaged in judging ourselves. And of course, we judge ourselves most harshly. It is really important to understand that no matter what your judgments have ever been in your life, if we just look back, and it's the only time I really condone doing such a thing, okay? But if we look back objectively at our lives, we find that no matter what our judgments have been on our existence, no matter what we have experienced and how we've chosen to judge it, ultimately, it's all benefited us. It's all brought us to this point, this place in our existence. We cannot trust judgment. And the reason we can't trust judgment is always a reflection of from whence it comes. So the idea that there could be a creator that would judge us would mean that that which we were being judged upon, that creator was upset about because it existed within it too. Does that make any realistic sense to you? No. We live in a universe of love. And no matter what appears to be happening here, let go of your judgment of it. Realize that judgment is nothing more than a point of view, a reflection of yourself. What is it that you want to reflect into the world? Now, let's look at a real world example. And I'm not saying you can do this all the time. You have to be very aware, very conscious, and literally prepared to pull this off a lot of times. But when someone approaches you with a lot of anger and they're really upset over something they perceive you have done, we have a choice to make. And if we refuse to judge the person, if we refuse to judge what appears to be on the surface, we can choose to act from a higher place. Perhaps we suspend judgment and we say, hey, I can see you're really upset. If you just want to calm down so I can understand you, I want to hear what you have to say. But if we choose to judge, if we would choose to put a label on that person and imagine them to be wrong or whatever the case may be, we become no less culpable in the confrontation that inevitably occurs. You see, it is our judgments that we put on ourselves and on others around us, and those judgments include things like should and should not. We love should and should not as egoic beings. We truly do, and I'll tell you why. Should and should not are all the idea of passive control. Well, that person should be doing this. Why? Because I think they should be. And that should be enough, right? But see, each of us has free will. And one of the other reasons Christ didn't want us to get into judging at all was because free will is the law of the land. It's the law of all of creation. You are here to exercise free will, and you will reap the consequences of your actions. There is no need for anyone else to punish you, no need for a deity that's going to come down upon your head. You will reap the consequences of your actions, and you will grow, consciously or otherwise. So when we let go of the ideas of should and should not, we are freeing ourselves from a huge amount of frustration, aren't we? Think about, I can use examples of Kelly because she used to be famous for this. When I first met her, I said to her, realistically, you're a very passive control freak, but a big control freak. No matter what it is you're doing it from a point of view of what you want the response to be. And Kelly's not alone in that. A lot of people out there, a vast majority of people, everything they do is about what they think the response should be in return. And when they don't get that response, they pass judgment. That frustration, that energy, this is why I say always love yourself enough to be willing to mind your thoughts and throw those thoughts out the door that are not serving you. And judgment does not serve you. The number of times in my life that I found myself homeless and on the street or lying in a hospital bed or dead, a couple of times, Luckily it was just dead and then back here because it was not my time to go. The point is if I judged all those things harshly, what would be different between what happened and me being here and what happened and me being here? Well, in the case of non-judgment, in the case of accepting what is and surrendering and looking for the gifts in what I was experiencing, all those things still happened. All the pain still happened. All the suffering still happened. But you know what? In the midst of all of that, because I was not judging it, I was joyful. I was lifting up my body energetically and giving it the positive vibration to help do its best to heal myself. When we wade into the mire of judgment of ourselves or others, we engage in taking away from this energy field of ourselves. We literally belittle ourselves in terms of energy. And there is no need to do that. Your judgment reflects the point of view. And this may hurt a little bit, but your point of view isn't the right point of view for anyone else except you right now. That point of view is going to change. And it's going to change many, 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 did I say many times? The reason being, like everything else, your point of view is an evolution. You didn't have the same point of view 10 years ago. Maybe it looks like you did, but trust me, your point of view is different now. And your point of view will be different again. When we're willing to accept that our point of view is only a point, we can let go of judgment. And gradually, as our point of view begins to fade, we begin to see the magnificence of the all, and how that no matter what may be apparent in the physical realm, it is all perfect. And ultimately, no one is harmed. No damage is done. Nobody is ever separated from anyone else. So I want to invite you to make every day the holiday of non-judgment day. When you wake up tomorrow morning, choose not to judge that which comes your way. If you wake up and it's raining outside or snowing and you wished it was sunny, do not judge that weather. Be grateful for eyes instead to see the weather. The ability to notice whether it's cold out or hot out or cloudy out or sunny out. When you run into that person, and we have to clarify the difference between judgment and observation. And this is a very important distinction. Judgment is always personal in some way. There's always a feeling attached to judgment because of the way you're thinking about it. So, for example, if we are served a bowl of soup and there is a fly in the soup and we become angry at the waiter and we judge the waiter because of the fly in the soup, we are indeed engaging in judgment. But if we simply say to the waiter, I observe or I notice that there's a fly in my soup, do you mind getting me a fresh bowl? We are no longer in the realm of judgment. We are using our faculties to observe without opinion on it. We're not judging whether having that in there is good or bad or otherwise. We're not judging the waiter for whether the waiter bought it and knew about it or didn't know about it. We're simply observing that there is a fly in the soup and you're making a choice that you don't want to eat the fly. Now, so that's the real difference between judgment and observation. In the realm of personal relationships, we get angry when someone doesn't do what we think they should do. We pass judgment on them. And in that instant, the judgment we pass on them, this was one of the most important aspects of what Christ was trying to say. The minute we pass judgment on that other and become upset because they are not living up to what we feel they should be, we have become the judged. We have judged ourselves, and we are already reaping the dissonant vibration of our judgment of the apparent other. This is another point that Christ knew, and another reason why he said, don't judge. We are all one. Every single part of us here, God looking out through each of those eyes. All of us. When we say namaste, we are not saying, I recognize the divine within you, the seed of divinity within you to a certain few. We say that to everyone. It may be hard to accept, but the murderer in his cell still has God looking out behind his eyes or her eyes. The person who would steal from another still has God looking out from behind those eyes. They are not being made less than us in any way. When we suspend judgment, when we stop judging our situations in life, and we stop judging our experiences, and we stop judging ourselves, most importantly, we open ourselves to the reality of our existence. We invite in the magnificent, wondrous truth that nothing is impossible. That the person who appears to be the worst of us can literally be transformed into the best of us in a heartbeat. There is no minute where redemption is not granted to you. In every moment, you are already free, already redeemed. All of creation wants to see what you will do now, not what you did yesterday, and certainly not to hold you to what you did yesterday. Let go of judgment, begin to engage in non-judgment and acceptance of what is, and that does not mean not taking action. What it does mean is when you observe something that is no longer serving you, you can still love it and honor it and let it go without that judgment. Much love to you this evening. I hope this has been a helpful little video, and I'm still working on pronunciation, so bear with me. We will see you again very soon. Namaste and good night.